What a great time it is to truly be a Dragon Ball fan. What is up, guys? What is going on? It is I, Azure, and we're going to be talking about the brand new Dragon Ball game that recently was announced not too long ago last year, that being another brand new installment in the Budokai Tenkaichi series, also known as Sparking in Japanese. This being the newest title now in literally a long time. We're going to be going through this brand new trailer here and giving my thoughts and speculation as to who will be making the cut here in terms of the roster that is yet to be fully revealed here and announced by Bandai Namco and the staff behind the game. So we're going to be going through here and, like I said, breaking down everything so far that we know up until this point and see if our wish will finally be granted in terms of a full complete roster here that's faithful to not only the Tenkaichi series but for anime arena fighters in general. So why don't we go through here and check out this newest trailer, which was for the Dragon Ball Battle Hour, which will be coming up very soon, actually, at the tail end of this month here in January, where hopefully we'll get another sneak peek here at the newest Tenkaichi game, also known as Sparking Zero. I'm honestly a bit torn on that name. I feel like perhaps instead Tenkaichi Zero or something of that nature would be a better fit here for this game. Before I begin here and get on to the real meat and potatoes of this video, if you like what you see from this and want to check out even more of what I've been up to, then be sure to let me know down below if you like this video, and to also comment on your favorite moment and what character you'd like to see be included here in the newest Budokai Tenkaichi style game. First up, I'm going to go ahead and get this right out of the way, that yes, in fact, I am a fan here of Dragon Ball GT and the reputation that it has for the franchise here, but it's still an important footnote, albeit a smaller one, I'd say, than some of the movies here that we'll be talking about. First up, we're going to be talking about Kid Goku here from GT, as well as Baby Vegeta, who is a form of Vegeta that is possessed by a parasite known as Baby, who was created by an evil scientist named Dr. Mew in the Baby saga of Dragon Ball GT. And so I feel like Baby Vegeta here deserves to be included in the new Tenkaichi style game, serving as the first major antagonist of the series, and really gave Goku, Trunks, and Pan, Gohan and Vidal's daughter, a real run for their money. For the first major character there, I'd say, from GT, besides, of course, Gohan and Videl and Hercule, aka Mr. Satan and all that, the usual cast that we have come to expect to be included here in a fighting game with the Dragon Ball name attached to it. But yes, so Baby Vegeta would be our first major antagonist here, like I said, to be included. Oh, also, Goku's student Oob, who he flew off with at the end of the Majin Buu saga, who also made a brief appearance in Dragon Ball GT. I cannot understate enough how much I'd love to see Oob come back, and his transformation with Majin Buu. Well, it's technically a fusion, but Majub, the fusion of Buu and Oob, would also be a very nice inclusion as well. Before I forget, so shoutouts there to Oob. Hopefully he'll be on the roster, but we'll have to, again, wait and see until the game launches here. And now then, for the second main antagonist, I'd say, that being Super Android 17, aka Super 17, from the arc of the same name by him. That being the culmination of two separate Android 17s that fused together through the magic of, well, the Home for Infinite Losers, aka Hell, and Dr. Gero teaming up with Dr. Mew to create the ultimate Android menace. Super 17 would be another great choice, I feel. Honestly, I wish would have gotten a spot on the roster for Dragon Ball FighterZ, even though Baby Vegeta did get that spot. It would still be nice, again, like I said, to see these underrepresented characters have their time to shine and really help out the franchise here. Get a little bit more love that I feel it rightfully deserves here. Because in my opinion, well, I feel GT is severely underrated amongst other things in the franchise here. I mean, no arc is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and even though the Super 17 arc was honestly, in my opinion, one of the weakest, it still helped though to flesh out the characters here and, well, again, shake things up here in terms of GT's plot and writing and whatnot. Moving on then to my third major antagonist here, I would have to give that spot to Sin Shenron, aka Omega Shenron, which wrapped up GT with a nice little bow, all things considered, especially the ending though to that arc, where we saw Goku fly off with Shenron into the distance there for a seemingly brand new adventure that was sort of left ambiguous there as a mystery, to really figure out and form our own thoughts and opinions on what happened to Goku, what was his fate at the end of Dragon Ball GT. That's a whole other topic for a potentially long video, which I'm not even going to get into here right now. But yeah, for our third major antagonist here from GT, I'd have to give that spot to, again, Omega Shenron here. Either with or without the Dragon Balls here absorbed into his body, which made him into Omega Shenron, causing quite a bit of Pain here. Speaking of pain, that gives us another shout out here to the ultimate fusion of Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, causing them to do the fusion dance against Omega Shenron here to stop his plans of world domination once and for all, giving birth to the ultimate and my personal favorite form here of Gogeta, that being Super Saiyan 4. It's without question that this character will probably, I'm 99% sure, be on this roster for the newest Tenkaichi style game here for Sparking Zero. And honestly, it would be a bit weird not to see Gogeta in any of his forms, whether that's base form, Super Saiyan, or Super Saiyan Blue for that matter. But for what it's worth here, I feel like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is a must-have staple when it comes to representing and showing off the Dragon Ball GT series here. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead here and in a few minutes go over then the individual movies from the Dragon Ball series, starting all the way from the beginning, before the Saiyan saga of the series kicked off in what's known as, well, the first half of Dragon Ball Z, and then go through each arc one by one, chronologically here, and really see who's going to be making it into this roster if I were to have the final say, and say, hey, put them in the game. Give them some love, you know? Give them some time to shine. Give them a chance to be brought back here for not just old fans, but new fans who may have never heard of them before. Since a lot of these movies here have come out, not just in the United States here, but in Japan, came out a long time ago. In the early to late 80s and 90s here of Dragon Ball's, like I said, extensive history as a Shonen Jump anime and manga series. First major movie we'll have to go over here is actually a TV special. Besides the history of Trunks, which featured androids 17 and 18 as the primary antagonists, this one was Bardock, the father of Goku, which featured Goku's father Bardock fighting and rebelling against Frieza's army here, trying to conquer planets and sell them to the highest bidder. It's already a pretty well-known fact that Frieza's not going anywhere anytime soon within Dragon Ball Super, and also we'll hopefully be seeing him in the upcoming series Dragon Ball Daima when that eventually releases to the world. But for now, I'd say that Frieza's obviously a good shoe-in here for a character, but also Goku's father Bardock as well, showing off just what an underclass Saiyan can really do here in terms of abilities. I'd say that both Frieza and of course Bardock here are mainstays in terms of showcasing movie characters that deserve to be rightfully included here in this roster for this upcoming monumentally giant-sized Tenkaichi game. So like I said, for what it's worth, it'll be nice to have Frieza, not just in his first form here, but in all of his forms hopefully included, to really give his true sense of fear and dread fighting against any sort of other players here in the game. That'll be Frieza, and then all his forms included, and Bardock. Hopefully we'll have Super Saiyan for Bardock as well, but also his regular original transformation, which was to turn into a giant monkey, aka Great Ape, which all Saiyans are typically capable of doing, as we've seen throughout the series here. Maybe we'll see a giant character here in the form of Bardock's Great Ape form, but as it is right now, as it stands, we have no confirmation as to whether giant-sized characters will be playable at all or not. Like I said though, hopefully he'll be included, and also Bardock's Super Saiyan transformation as well, which would also be a nice, I guess you could say, chef's kiss to really help Bardock stand out, and not just cover his original history with the franchise, but his more recent appearances as well. Really adds the whole icing on the cake there, like I said, with the whole chef's kiss thing. I'd say that for the first major TV special here, that would just about do it, I'd say, for my thoughts. We can move right along then from here into the first major Dragon Ball film that was released in theaters, originally in Japan, before it eventually made its way to the West and got dubbed in English and whatnot by Funimation and all that. So the first movie then was called The Dead Zone, featuring Garlic Jr. as the primary antagonist here, who fought against not just Goku, but Piccolo and even Gohan to a small extent within the film's runtime. So Garlic Jr. here is a villain that, while his size may fool you, that does not serve as any excuse though for his lack of power, as Garlic Jr. is one foe you do not want to mess with. At least around the time that this movie came out originally, it's supposed to be have happened during the Saiyan saga. So Goku still has his Nyoyabo, or Power Pole, and the Nimbus Cloud with him, which is always nice to see. But also him teaming up with Piccolo, as around this time they really weren't allies fully yet. And Piccolo was still kind of a side villain, you could say. Or more of a rival, I guess would be a proper way to compare that, to Goku. Garlic Jr. would be a very interesting pick, I feel. Not just because of his size, but he is able to transform. So don't get it twisted here. This guy actually has a very interesting transform state that I feel would really shake things up and help to have him stand out amongst the other possible movie characters that will be included in this game coming up here whenever this does eventually launch, which right now, as of the time of this video, there is no release date at all announced. It's just to be announced, and I guess whenever it releases. So hopefully we shall see on that note. But yeah, so Garlic Jr. though in his transform state is, I'd say honestly, something more akin to Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan. And the reason as to why, he is definitely packing some heat here. And his muscle mass proves that in spades. So Garlic Jr. here in his powered up form, while strong, is not unfortunately the fastest of foes. So he has a few good tricks up his sleeve in terms of power here and combat abilities. But with that aside, he really isn't all that special. So if I had to pick here one form of Garlic Jr. to be included in the upcoming Sparking Zero game, I would say either his smaller form or his more bulky, powered up transformation like you're seeing here on screen now. For what it's worth though, like I said, it would be nice to have Garlic Jr. come back and be included in the roster, even if it's as DLC. Either way, I feel like since he's the first major Dragon Ball movie theme villain, he deserves to have a spot here in either one of his two forms that we've seen him in. Like I said though, it would be nice to have him and just, you know, have him be represented and his movie. His henchmen though that he had in the film, not so much. We don't really see them do much of anything. They do transform as well though against Goku and Piccolo in their fights respectively, but they really aren't as memorable, I'd say, personally, as Garlic Jr. here himself as the #1 baddie. Honestly, though, it would be interesting though to see just what they do with his moveset here and how they shake up the formula and maybe give him some new abilities from the film and use that as inspiration here to really have him be a standout fighter amongst the cast. Who can forget his signature technique known as the Dead Zone, which is basically just a giant vacuum cleaner that sucks up everything in its path and destroys everything in the immediate surrounding area. So, on that note, we move on to the second major theatrical Dragon Ball film, known as The World's Strongest, featuring Dr. Willow as the primary antagonist. So then Dr. Willow is, yes, that's right, a giant brain in a floating vat of liquid, and he is then encapsulated into a giant fighting robot, similar to something you'd see out of a monster movie or a horror movie would be a better comparison there. So Dr. Willow's main goal here is to try and pick a fight against Goku and friends to try and steal Goku's body and try and, well, become the world's strongest fighter on Earth. And how he goes about doing that is not exactly the smartest of ideas. So Dr. Willow led Goku and friends to his lair in these snowy mountains here and take the Saiyan warrior's body for himself. But what a real bigger question is, even if Dr. Willow was successful in doing so, would he really be able to harness Goku's power, let alone using the Kamehameha technique, the solar flare, or even the Kaioken to a greater extent? I personally don't think so. So he would basically be almost like driving a car, but if that car had no wheels on it, or even an engine in it to power it at all. So he'd kind of just have a dud, since he may be incredibly smart and be a genius in the scientific community, as his backstory implied. I feel as though that wouldn't really matter, and it wouldn't really serve him any good, even if he would have Goku's body. And the way that things played out, well, he unfortunately met his doom and demise by the hands of Goku, so it's a little ironic, on that note, that he kind of got his just desserts, you could say. And he even managed to mind control Piccolo and have him fight against Goku and the Z Warriors, I don't know particularly here if, like I said earlier, if giant characters are going to be included in this game at all as a part of the roster. If they are, then Dr. Willow has a pretty good chance, I'd say, of being included as a part of the cast here. But if not, I can't blame them for not including him. While he is cool, and I do like his backstory and powers, and his voice in both subbed and dubbed is incredibly awesome and menacing. All in all, I'd say he's a little too on the generic side to really keep here and have included. Not just that, but his moves aren't really all that original. They're just regular energy blasts and key-based techniques. I can't really blame them if he's not included here, but personally, I'm like probably one of the only major fans here of the World's Strongest, so I could be wrong. I feel, though, that he at least deserves the chance to be represented here. Take it for what it's worth from me. But if giant characters are going to be actually included in this game, then why not give Dr. Willow a shot? I mean, give him a brand new moveset, make him a little bit more easier to play as here, actually allow him to charge up his ki or energy, since he can't do that on his own until we reach the full amount here anyway of ki bars. If a few of these tweaks were implemented and made, then I feel like he could be a very devastating foe to be squaring off against here. I would say that just about does it, though, for my thoughts here on Dr. Willow, and if he should be included or not in the newest Budokai Tenkaichi style game of sorts here. So, take it for what it's worth. These are just my 2 cents, though. So, if it happens, great. If not, then maybe a better character could be included instead in his place. And that would, well, seemingly be that. I would say, though, next, it's time for us to move on now to the third major Dragon Ball theatrical film. That being known as the Tree of Might, which featured an interesting idea for its movie's main antagonist, that being the Saiyan known as Turles, one that's seemingly very similar and also different to Goku at the same time. So that's right, he does in fact look basically identical one-to-one, but as an evil sort of version of him, like an anti-Goku. And this was, of course, decades before Dragon Ball Super would utilize this very same concept, that being in the form of Goku Black, aka, I guess you could say, quote-quote, canon version of, well, an evil form of Goku that would be featured as the main villain. Turles, though, has a very interesting gimmick where he can eat a fruit from the tree that he planted on Earth that would allow him to multiply his power by a great many times in vast quantities. So after Turles here can eat this fruit from the Tree of Might, he gets a huge power-up and gets buffed up, utilizing this power to his full extent by seemingly beating the ever-living tar out of Goku here, and everybody else for that matter. Piccolo, even Gohan, who transformed into a great ape himself in that movie, Yamcha, Tien, you name it, they basically all went down within a few hits from Turles, as he was not holding back and was determined to conquer the entire planet here and enslave the Earth for his own, well, evil intentions and whatnot. I would think that giving Turles here this little ability to have him do perhaps double, triple, quadruple damage by eating the Tree of Might here would be a very cool ability that would help him stand out amongst the movie villains. And I mean, come on, wouldn't it be really cool, let's face it, to have him square off against Goku Black and the ultimate evil Goku counterpart there? Personally, for me, I feel like that would be really cool, and would love to see that matchup finally happen in a modern-day Dragon Ball fighting game. And it doesn't even matter here if Turles' Great Ape form would be included or not, because he can also transform into a Great Ape, as a little fun fact there as well. But whether he has that form or not, I feel like would be a huge treat to have him square off, like I said, against Goku Black in the ultimate anti-Goku showdown of the ages. And personally, that's just what I'd love to see here. And then I'd say, aside from that, having Turles included here from the Tree of Might, maybe have one or two of his henchmen show up as well as like a sort of tag team fighter, and maybe have them, you know, teleport in and out and do certain moves, kind of like the Ginyu Force from Dragon Ball FighterZ, and have them have a very diverse set of moves that would help them stand out. Maybe even have them help Turles out here for like one of his attacks. You know, maybe they just teleport in, shoot a few energy blasts or some, you know, ki volleys in a set pattern, and then teleport away out of the fight. I'm not really all too sure, but having them included as well would be a nice touch. These are all just my opinions, though. Let me know, though, guys, what you think down below. Who you'd want to be included in this game in terms of roster. More specifically, I'd say villains. You know, because a lot of villains from Dragon Ball usually get cut from games. So to have a lot of these other underrepresented antagonists here, you know, and it would just help to add a lot to this game and really make it be the truly best arena-based Tenkaichi-style Dragon Ball game that it can possibly be. DLC either included or not included. As for that, I'd say I don't want a lot of DLC. Maybe some characters from Super and like post the Broly movie Tournament of Power arc. Otherwise, I want most of this roster to be unlockable solely by playing the game. As in, I go through the story mode from either the original Dragon Ball Saga or from Dragon Ball Z, and work my way up through there, you know, and just as I go through the fights and clear the levels and advance on to the next one and etc., I can unlock the characters by myself with my own skill. Not just buying them for $1 or $2 or $5 or $8 or even $10. No, I just want to be able to play the game as it is in its final form. Get it? Final form. Well, build, I mean. And yeah, just unlock everything and everyone, hopefully, I'd say, on my own, by my own, like I said, my own merit. Like, that really shouldn't be that much to ask for here. Especially from a Dragon Ball game that's going to be of this size and this caliber. I feel like it has to sort of be like that, you know? It has to be a really faithful game to these original 3 games here in the series. You know, in each of these original 3 games, you went through the story mode, like I said, and unlocked each respective character as you cleared each story arc or saga as you went along. You know, that was how the game was structured. That's how it was all done. You know, now obviously it's a lot different nowadays. And especially for gaming, the whole, you know, business side of it is a lot more corporate-based and whatnot. If this game can at least stay mostly faithful or completely faithful to that whole sort of process, then that would be perfect, in my opinion. That would be absolutely perfect if we can just unlock the characters, like I said, as we go along and whatnot, and have it feel like we're actually earning something truly special here as we go through the Dragon Ball series saga by saga, arc by arc, movie by movie here. As for the 4th major Dragon Ball film, Lord Slug, the titular antagonist here, which being a fallen Namekian of sorts, who was disgraced by his people and shunned forever from planet Namek, who was solely wandering the universe in hopes of finding his own planet to call home again, would be another example of a character that, while I do like him a lot and his powers, using more of the Namekian-based techniques, such as stretching his limbs out and using different sort of ki-based powers here with his hands to really help give foes a good 1-2 in terms of battle. Lord Slug, though, is one character, again, that I feel may or may not be included just because of his many, many similarities to Piccolo, but also the fact that he can turn giant. Let's not get it twisted here. You know, just like Piccolo himself, Lord Slug has the ability, well, to increase his size and mass and grow many, many more times his average size, which gave Goku and Piccolo and everybody else in that movie that he appeared in a pretty good run for their money, I'd say, as well. Lord Slug would be another character that, while I do want him to be in this game, I'm honestly in no way, shape, or form expecting him to be included. But if he was to be included, hey, you know, that's great. The more the merrier. It would be just like from Tenkaichi 3. Everything would be right as rain then. Like I said, if he is included, that's great. You know, that's one more character I can scratch off my list here that I personally want to see as a playable fighter. But again, hey, if he's not, he will be missed. But we always have Piccolo and Nail as other Namekians to be included in this game that represent the Namekian race here from the Frieza saga. Like I said, if he's in it, great. If not, well, that's really just that then, and perhaps in a future game then he could be included, but hopefully he will be. And that brings us now to covering 2 different Dragon Ball movies that are in a set here, that being Cooler's Revenge and The Return of Cooler. So these movies detailed Frieza's older brother Cooler, who came to Earth to find Goku after defeating Frieza when Goku originally turned into a Super Saiyan on Namek against him, and seemingly killed him forever until, well, we thought otherwise, when he came back to Earth and was then defeated by Vegeta's son Trunks and brought his reign of terror to an end. But yeah, Cooler here is one character that I honestly feel will most likely be included in a new Tenkaichi style game. Cooler has been cropping up a lot more in recent Dragon Ball games over the years here, being after the Tenkaichi series concluded, he was in the Raging Blast games and was also included as well in a few other minor spin-off games, and in addition was also in the Xenoverse games, and also even appearing in Dragon Ball FighterZ as well as one of the downloadable characters. Although he only appeared in his final form, this form of Cooler that's on screen now is his last known form, known as Metacooler, which is when he appeared in his second movie against Goku and friends, and was seemingly at his strongest, taking over the people of New Namek and enslaving them all by utilizing a giant mechanical star that he called the Big Gete Star to endlessly clone himself hundreds and hundreds of times, pitting Goku and Vegeta here against basically a small army with no end in sight. But as we know, Goku and friends are able to stop Cooler's reign and shut him down for good. But yeah, this form of Cooler, while not, I'd say, as personally popular for me and as enjoyable, would still be a cool choice to have included, because if we can have Mecha Frieza, then why can't we have Meta Cooler? I mean, it's like, they go together, you know, like peanut butter and jelly. And would honestly be cool to have them do some sort of ultimate move together where they team up and, I don't know, either do like a double Death Beam together or some move similar that helps utilize their mechanical forms here. So I'd say for what it's worth, like I said, in my opinion, Metacooler would be a very interesting choice, given that he has a lot of different moves at his arsenal. He also even has Goku's instant transmission as well, that he somehow was able to learn, and that's never really specified as to how. But yeah, having Cooler here in both of his regular organic forms with his powered up transformation, and then Metacooler as a separate character, would both be two inclusions to this roster here for Sparking Zero that I cannot emphasize enough would be a real delight to have. And honestly, he just looks cool. I mean, that's why he's called Cooler, right? Having both forms of Cooler would be a very nice addition to represent his two respective movies. As we go along here now to the next set of Dragon Ball movies here, this one's going to be a single one, a one-off movie. So this one was called originally Super Android 13, and this was utilizing Dr. Gero, or aka Dr. Gero, and a set of 3 other artificial humans, or androids, as they were released to the world to try and track down Goku here and, well, defeat him once and for all for the Red Ribbon Army. And although the plot for that movie was not very, well, original, the designs for these androids were really, really cool. Having Android 13 here as a sort of truck driver-esque villain with the way he talks and his personality and his fighting style, that's very hands-on and up close for the majority of his moves, is really cool to see. And also his signature technique as well, the SS Deadly Bomber, is also a nice projectile as well that would probably be really cool to have as his like ultimate move here in a new Tenkaichi style title. Android 13 though in particular, who also has a transformation known as Super Android 13, where he absorbs the mechanical parts of his 2 brethren, Androids 14 and 15, who actually made a playable appearance as well as Android 13 here in Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2 many moons ago. I feel like even just having 13 here by himself solo would be a great way to represent his movie as well, and his transformed powered up state, where he gets bulky and his skin turns blue for some odd reason. It would be a cool addition though, like I said. And not just that, but his voice, again, kind of like with Dr. Willow from the second major DBZ film, also helped to have Android 13's personality really stand out and shine, in my opinion here, at least. But yeah, Android 13 would be pretty darn cool to have, and have him represent his movie here. With all that being said though, Android 13, like I said, may or may not be in this upcoming game. He hasn't really been in really any major games since the Raging Blast titles. If he does get included, that would be really, really awesome to see, as I always am a big fan of the android type characters here throughout the Dragon Ball franchise. As we move on then to the next DBZ movie. Now this is not in chronological order. That's for a very good reason though, that I will elaborate on in a few minutes here. So this is then the 9th Dragon Ball movie called Bojack Unbound, which featured again the titular character known as Bojack, who was sealed away by King Kai and the fellow Kais from the land of the Kais in Otherworld, and broke out after being sealed away in a star, and took revenge now against them, squaring off then against Gohan and friends, as Goku was absent during this movie, as he was seemingly gone from the series for a while as the main character, which gave Gohan, though, some time to shine, along with Vegeta, Trunks, Tien, Krillin, etc. This movie, though, in particular, really helped to bring Gohan to the spotlight and the forefront of the Dragon Ball series, even if for, well, its short runtime. Bojack, honestly, is not one of my favorite characters at all. I don't really like him. His design is cool, and his abilities seem alright, albeit a bit generic. But then when we get to his powered-up state, or his full power form as it's known as, officially, full power Bojack is one foe that, while strong and gave Gohan and them a really fierce fight, isn't anything I'd say I'd feel deserves to be included here. I mean, design-wise, he's great. He fits and checks all the boxes here for me in terms of appeal and design and personality even. That aside, I really feel like he doesn't deserve to be on this roster. He would just kind of be there as like, hey, remember that guy from that one random Dragon Ball movie? And it's like, oh yeah. All in all, while Bojack is cool, like I said, design-wise and personality-wise, that doesn't really merit enough, in my opinion, to give him a spot on the roster. And if he's not included, I won't lose sleep over it. It is what it is then at the end of the day. And that'll just be that. And that'll, well, that's really my 2 cents, I'd say. If I had to sum up, if I want Bojack in the next Tenkaichi game, if he's included, well, that's cool. But all in all, for what it's worth, I really wouldn't miss him at all, since there are a lot better rivals here and villains that could be included instead in his place. Now, if they made him a sort of Ginyu Force style character, like from Dragon Ball FighterZ, where he summoned his different henchmen, like Zanga and whatnot, to come out and fight, and add an actual, diverse moveset instead of just having him throw random ki blasts and whatnot that are just green, then I feel like that could possibly work and make him better and more viable as a character. But if not, then I feel he would just be a waste of a slot in the roster here, and really wouldn't do anything different by being included, besides the one villain that Gohan killed seemingly on his own, in a really cool Kamehameha clash. For what it's worth, though, I just gotta be honest here with you guys. I would not really care if Bojack is in this game or not. He doesn't really have all that much relevancy for me. So then as we move along now, like I said, to the next... This is actually the next set of 3 Dragon Ball movies that I'll be covering here. So that being the 8th movie, the 10th movie, and its sequel movie. So that being Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan, Broly's Second Coming, and yes, of course, Bio Broly. So these movies here covered Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan, in his quest to get revenge on Goku and Vegeta, mainly Goku though, by Broly's father Paragus, for decades ago, as Broly is now seemingly unleashed on a new version of Planet Vegeta here, which served as a huge battleground for Goku, Trunks, Gohan, Piccolo, and Vegeta, all taking on Broly and experiencing his awesome power, and why he was called the legendary Super Saiyan, for a reason. Broly is, of course, one character that will most likely be included in the next Tenkaichi game here, and I would love to see him come back and be featured as a primary antagonist here in his arc. So Broly is, of course, that one character besides Goku's father Bardock that are seemingly included in every respective Dragon Ball title nowadays. So I'd say it's a safe bet here to bet on Broly being included in this next upcoming title. So hopefully, like I said, we can see him in Sparking Zero and unleash the awesome raw power that the legendary Super Saiyan has here at his disposal. And let's not forget that famous form, and goes insanely mad with power as his control from his father Paragus is no longer an option, and Broly seemingly unleashed upon the world here, with no one to calm him down or control his might. So Broly is one character that, yes, I would love to see in all his forms, whether it's his calm base form, his enraged Super Saiyan form, or, of course, his legendary form, which is the most iconic one. But either way, Any of these versions of Broly would be honestly awesome to see. And of course, his Bio Broly form has never really been playable in too many games over here in the West. So to have Bio Broly playable would be honestly a bit weird. Along with, of course, his version from Dragon Ball Super, from his respective movie, Dragon Ball Super Broly, has already been confirmed at the time of this video, as we've seen Broly in the trailer. Now, moving on to the next Dragon Ball film here, that being Fusion Reborn, which featured Goku and Vegeta learning the fusion dance, while in Otherworld, fighting against a true monstrosity known as Janemba, a collection of evil souls from the afterlife who were all combined together to form this creature, which was one foe that even gave Goku a run for his money and some trouble while in Super Saiyan 3 form, and Vegeta in Super Saiyan 2. So Janemba here is another character that in terms of antagonists I feel like would deserve to have a spot on the roster for Sparking Zero. Janemba did in fact make a playable appearance in Dragon Ball FighterZ as one of the DLC characters as well, which helped represent Fusion Reborn in a very nice way. It also included his previous transformation, which is a huge form, has the personality of the fat Majin Buu, who's more childlike in nature and personality, but yet can utilize manipulating matter and can create almost these miniature dimensions and punch through them to seemingly attack opponents wherever they are in the field, which would be cool to have in a new style Tenkaichi game here. Janemba is another character I feel would be a huge opportunity to not have playable, especially his powered up form here known as Super Janemba, with his evil sword of darkness. Really slice him and dice him. So yeah, I'd say from Fusion Reborn here, I'd have to go with, well, Janemba in either his super powered up state or his gigantic form, if giant characters, like I said, are hopefully going to be added. Which leads me now into the last original Dragon Ball movie, that being Wrath of the Dragon. This was the 13th and originally final movie in the set of Dragon Ball theatrical films during the original series run here, before the series and franchise would lie dormant for basically a decade until the series creator Akira Toriyama would come back and do Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, which introduced us to Beerus and Whis and the Super Saiyan God transformation and the whole God hierarchy there, which will then culminate into leading up to the series premiere of Dragon Ball Super, which brings us into today. And as the franchise is, well, as of now. This movie's villain was known as Hirudegarn, an evil entity that was lost most thought to time from his sorcerer here known as Hoi in the English dub. Hoi was able to successfully revive Hirudegarn here, and was able to successfully unleash this monster upon the residents of Earth, causing Goku and friends to have to step in and take action to bring this ancient evil down for the count, which is what ended up happening thanks to the hero here known as Tapion. However, there's a nice twist with the movie, that being how Tapion's sword is rumored to have been the exact same sword that future Trunks would use later on when he made his appearance originally back in Dragon Ball Z, as a way to sort of tie things together. Kind of odd retcon, if I do say so myself, but one that still is pretty cool. Whether it's supposed to be canon or not, I think it's cool that they're connected, that being Trunks and Tapion here, and having him fight against Hirudegarn would be pretty cool as well. I would personally love to see Hirudegarn playable, either in his first form, which has never been really shown, or his final form, which is shown now on screen. But like I said, if these giant characters are included, that would be great. You know, it would open up the roster to a lot more possibilities here in terms of diverse movesets and whatnot, and borrowing inspiration and elements from their respective movies. If he's not included, I can see why. He's a very, very massive character here in terms of his size and scaling, and there'd be a lot of different gameplay changes that would have to be done, because he's basically like a boss battle here in and of itself when fighting against him. I mean, look at Tapion here. He looks like an ant compared to him. If Hirudegarn was to be included, it would be awesome, like I said, as the last original Dragon Ball movie villain before Battle of Gods and Dragon Ball Super brought the series back to prominence again. I think for historical reasons, Hirudegarn would be a shoo-in. I'd say, though, then, that on that note, this just about does it for this video, then. And be sure to let me know, though, what you guys all think about this down below, and if you're personally excited for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Until we meet again next time, I've been your host for today, Azure, and I am signing off. Take care, everyone. I'll be catching you all on the flip side. See you next time, guys.